All right. You guys ready for this? I'm ready for this. Woo! All right. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you... What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Live with Wolfman. I'm your host, Jacob Wolfman, and this is a show about all the things that I'm interested in, all the things you're interested in. Today's focus is style. How do you be original? How do you stand out above the crowd? It could be forms. It could be tricking. It could just be life in general. I mean, the principles we're talking about today just apply to everything. But I brought in somebody that I've looked up to forever. This guy, super insightful, amazingly talented, and an innovator and in every respectable way. I am pleased to introduce everybody to Sean Ellis. Whoa! You're alive!
Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Hopefully you're having well, for me, it's a good afternoon. I don't know where you're at, but if you're having a good morning, that's okay too. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully I'll be able to steer you in the right direction.
So, if as quickly as you and concisely as you can, tell the people a little bit about who you are.
Okay. My name is Sean Ellis. Born in pretty much around Houston, Texas. Raised in a lot of different places, but I go by the stage name Sesshoumaru. When I was tricking, when I was a lot younger. I'm 35 years old. Right now. Been tricking since I was probably about 8 years old. It's been a long career, and yeah, still able to do some stuff. Haven't been training as much, mostly just training basics, making sure I can defend myself. I pretty much started off, as a martial artist, and that's pretty much how I the origin or the focal point to my tricking style is generally around just creating unique positions from where I can apply martial art techniques or concepts.
Yeah, so let me give you guys a little background about why I brought this guy on the show today. And I don't know if I told you this story or not, but I mean, you were part of it. Years ago, I made a film. The film is called Tricking. It's the first time I ever made any significant video project, and the biggest reason why I made it was because of this guy. I had a friend in my hometown who hosted a breakdancing battle, and that guy and I connected after a long time, and he was talking about his breakdance battle and how awesome it was, and the fact that he was bringing in trickers, and I was like, trickers? What are you talking about? And he told me that he was bringing in Sesshoumaru, and I'm like, what? And I freaked out. I was like, because I had watched this guy on the internet for years with his samplers, and everything he does blew me away. And when I heard he was coming into my little town, I mean, it's not that little, but to me, it's the middle of the Midwest, it's Madison, Wisconsin, it's not a big deal. Why would he be here? And so when I heard he was coming to my town, I was like, I have to take advantage of this. I have to do something. And I was like finishing college. I had like a year left, and I was studying film, and I was like, I gotta make a film. I gotta put this together. So I worked my butt off to prepare for the day when he was in my town, so that he could be the first person that I interviewed for the film. And that's the first time I met him. And then, I mean, I was inspired by his movement up till that point. And then after that, I was inspired by the whole package. I mean, the intellect goes with the movement. And I've just sucked up every word and piece of knowledge that this guy's dropped, because he's always online trying to educate the next generation about what's going on in the martial arts tricking world. You know, he wrote a thing back in the day. It's called the Tricking Bible. It was the first time anybody tried to like put martial arts tricking into some sort of like textual context that you could kind of like figure out some stuff. He gave lessons through movement and just talking, going to gatherings and educating everybody. He would always have like it'd be like the I don't know, a little like a professor meeting, and everybody would gather around, and he'd be like, "Listen up, this is how things work." And just super nice guy, loves everybody. But he's also got the mysterious side of him, which is why I appreciate he's wearing the hoodie today. He's got that King of Demons look. He's mysterious back there. But so today we're going to be talking about style, because I don't think there's anybody else on the planet that I know that can talk about this subject better than Sean. So let's just jump right into it. So Sean gave me a video to start up the show, so I'm gonna get that lined up, and I mean let's just roll into it. Why are we playing this video?
Okay, the reason why we're playing this video is pretty much just to kind of jump off into what I consider to be like the evolution of the NASCA style, the sport karate style, and what kind of embodies how it's grown. Okay, now there's not like a whole lot of trickers who decide to trick like this, because not every tricker is a sport karate competitor or a former sport karate competitor. So like this style, I understand like why it's not so prominent these days, as tricking has gotten more commercial. But the reason why I want to focus on these guys first is just to kind of set like an understanding of what like pretty much the foundation of tricking is. And when you're looking at these videos, you could see the level of skill, the level of acrobatic is pretty much on par with the actual level of the martial arts techniques that you see. When these guys kick, you can see that they're generally spotting the target. You can see that the lines look nice. Everything kind of seems more correct. You can tell that there's a certain standard that they're trying to execute these moves to, and it's not just about landing them. It's just not about hey, I did it. We're done with it. Like they want it to be clean. They want it to be purposeful. They want it to be powerful. And to me, like the one that embodies this like the most is Anise. Danny Graham and Pinto and a lot of these other guys, they're also like very, very good. But the thing about Anise that's very, very interesting is there's Micah's ass, so sexy. But yeah, there's the thing about Anise that's very, very unique is, look at that. Like the thing about Anise that's so unique is he displays when he doesn't like something. Like even when it looks good, like for us, we'll see and we'll be like, whoa, man, oh my God, it's incredible, right? Yeah. But if you look at his body language, he's not pleased. Like rarely is he pleased. Yeah. I think that speaks volumes to the standard that he's trying to execute his moves to.
I'm going to play a little Anise while you talk about him. Yeah, that's actually something that we brought up on the show quite a number of times, is like some of these high-level guys, their standards are leagues above the average person, right? Like, we'll think they're amazing, and they'll be like, nah, that's trash. They just set their own standards. So circling back to, like, the topic of the day, I mean, if you think that's, like, a take-home point, like, if you want to have your own style, then I think an important rule here is maybe you got to set your own standard.
Definitely. And that standard will dictate just how what would you say when you taste something? Is it palatable or palpable? No, I think it's palatable.
Sure.
Yeah. How I think it's palatable. How palatable like your style will be. Like no matter how crazy it is, if your style is not clean, people won't be able to digest it. I mean, it'll be awesome. It'll get clicks. Like people will say like, wow, this guy has, big cojones, right? Like this guy's crazy.
Right.
But as far as people who don't trick, people outside the community, it won't look good. It won't look like art. It won't look like, oh, he's doing everything purposeful. It'll just look like, he's rolling around, tumbling around, and he's lucky he's not hurting himself. That's what
Right.
it'll look like to them.
Yeah, that is a common thing you hear about people that don't really pay attention to tricking much. They think a couple things. They think they're just doing the same flip over and over again, and that they're completely not in control of what they're doing. Is just complete chaos. And I think after you start watching tricking and training it yourself, after a while, you kind of forget that that's what like the average person thinks, and you just are like, no, that's silly. But I think that's still a misconception out there. Say that
Can you
again?
play that comp again?
Oh, sure.
The one where he X out hook, butterfly twist, double leg to backside 10.
Boom.
This. Look. Just take a moment and look at the hook kick. Okay, every hook kick is the same. It's the same. Like throughout, like a lot of these videos, you could look at the arm position. You could look at like his knee position in conjunction with his heel and with his toe. It is the exact same. No matter what he's coming out of, when he executes that hook kick, it's the same every time. And that is something that a lot of trickers, even a lot of top trickers, don't achieve. They just don't. Like a lot of times they'll sacrifice because of what they're going for is so difficult.
Right.
A lot of times they have to look at that. Like a lot of times they have to, every time it's the same. A lot of times they have to sacrifice their technique in order to pull it off. In the beginning, when you're pushing for hard stuff, it's normal, right?
Sure.
But you have to take the time to clean it up over time before you move on, right? Like if I'm trying to do double butterfly twist hyper hook, which is something I cannot do, but if I'm trying to do it, and let's say I land it and it's a little jank, and I'm landing it like that for 2 to 3 months, and then the next thing you know, I'm going for triple butterfly twist. It's for me, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth because it's kind of like, whoa, you could have cleaned up the double butterfly twist hyper hook
Right.
before you moved on. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't. They
And
just go.
I think it's because the people don't. In this, I can make so many correlations here, but people don't always they respect the cleanliness, but in the short term, in the short sightedness, it's not as important as landing that extra spin, like getting that next level up of the version of the trick, because that's going to get you more social props. Like, oh, I did the triple full, but yeah, you still haven't mastered a clean full yet, And that's the same thing. We find this actually in forums as well. We'll find people throwing flash kicks and throwing side swipes and all this stuff, but they can't do a side kick. It's because you're going to get way more props for the flip and the perceived higher acrobatic difficulty than the cleanliness. But I think if there's anything to show here, it's that in the long run, if you're trying to like be remembered and create a legacy, if you focus on the cleanliness, it seems that you make a bigger impact for the long term. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Definitely. It's just all very, very important, man. Like to me, it's the perfection is perfection. If someone's doing something and it's executed really well, you can't do it any better, right? No matter what it is. If someone does, a double cork and it's perfect, and then someone comes up and they do a side kick and it's perfect, both are perfect. You know what I mean? Both are insanely difficult to do any better. So if someone does, even if it's not something that's difficult, if you focus on doing it perfect, then that's something that's worth praise. And back to the double butterfly twist hyper hook. Yes, it's a triple butterfly twist. Do we perceive that as being the harder skill? Yes, but it takes just as much skill to do the double butterfly twist hyper hook cleanly, maybe even more. than to do the triple butterfly twist. And the reason why is because of what constitutes clean. Like if someone's doing a kicking skill, and this is something that we know but we don't talk about, that kicking skill needs to be face height, bro. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It needs to be face height, and you need to control it. And when I say face height, I mean your face height. If you're standing up straight, where your head is, like your kick needs to pass through that.
Right.
So when I see people do insane, like these crazy, insane kicking variations, but one of the kicks fall beneath head height, invalid, like immediately to me. I'm just like, that was a good attempt, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not clean, you know? It's not clean, you know? And to me, it's getting to a point where if it's not clean, it's not even worth doing. And I think that's why you see a lot of these older, like really prominent, like legendary trickers, why you don't see them pushing the envelope so much.
Yeah.
Because I think they've realized it, or maybe it's just the culture we grew up in, again with the Nazca style, that we realized that at some point for us to keep advancing, we have to go harder. But to do it, because we're kind of approaching our physical limit, our wall, we have to get, where things aren't so clean. And I just think that people who embody like this Nazca type style or this, approach, this culture, we just feel that it's not worth it. And that's pretty much how that it is. Yeah.
That leads me to another question that I wanted to bring up with you. And back so we're watching Anis here. In Anis's phase where he was becoming who he is, becoming Anis, he was in an era where moves were still being invented. He was around during the time when like the double cork was a novel new thing to do. Hyper hook is a relatively new concept. Double leg twist. I mean, there's the vast majority of what we call tricking today, and so the ability to have original movements, it was still out there. Today, it's like the vast majority of all the tricks have kind of they've been done. There's not too much left. You really have to stretch the definition of tricking to create something that's new in tricking these days. If you're in 2017, how do you stand out? How do you define your style? How do you be different than everyone else?
That's a tough question. I'm not
going to give you easy questions.
Yeah. I appreciate that though, because I'm good at answering tough questions, or at least I like to think that. But anyway, when it comes to trying to define yourself in today's economy, when it comes to how crazy tricking is now, how in depth it is, how much it's grown, because it's cultivated into something that's outside of any of our control. The way to stand out and to kind of create something that's your own, you pretty much have to look outside of tricking. If you're tricking like the man next to you, if you're approaching the moves the same way, if you're thinking I'm gonna use touchdown raise as a setup to generate power, I'm gonna use cartwheel as a setup to generate power. If I do spin hook, it's like I can go into scoot and use scoot, for function A, for function B, for function C. Like everyone kind of has these it's kind of like tropes for tricking. These trends that are very, very prominent, and to the point of where when you see one move, you can almost guarantee what's coming up next.
Right.
Because moves are starting to not be like things, not be seen as techniques. They're being used as functions. Like if I do a spin hook, it's just to get.
It's a power generator.
Yeah, that's it. It's not. It's rarely is it for the sake of I'm gonna freaking torque at my hips and push off the ground and just send my hook like through this imaginary target and destroy it. That's the point. The point is I want to generate spinning momentum and torque for a cartwheel or for a race. And then that's going to lead to whatever, because I'm generating all this power. I'm most likely not generating all this power for a kick. I'm most likely generating for something that's kind of difficult. So you already know, like, okay, he's going to double forward, he's going to triple forward, he's going to do some type of cork variation, or he's going to set up a bunch of swings. Like, you're generating all this momentum, like, for a specific reason. But like, rarely will someone just be like, okay, I'm going to do a spin hook to set up a 540. Those days are long gone.
All right.
So again, I kind of went kind of far off, but
No, you're still on track. I mean,
but
so okay, go ahead. Get
but
back where you're going.
But to be original, again, you have to go outside of the trend. And maybe you're looking at dance, maybe you're looking at skateboarding, maybe you're looking at parkour or free running. Like, if you were to look at Travis Wong, like, the way he approaches tricking, very, very different. Take for example, do you have a link for Andy Lee? Have you seen his recent video?
Is that the second one you linked me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I'll pop it up.
Yeah. Like, if you for those who might not know, right? Andy Lee is not formally trained in martial arts. He does train his ass off. He works very, very hard, and his kicks are definitely better than mine. He's just very, very nice. But this guy is a beast. I think he did is it the Taijutsu one? Yeah, the Taijutsu one is pretty sick. But there's segments where if you're approaching this, looking at it from a tricker standpoint, you'll be expecting one thing and he'll do another. Like, look at that. Like,
right.
He used like the kind of the NASCAR like jump front, but he went into like a standing kick combination instead of just doing jump front to spin hook, And that's different. Boom, low, hot. Switch stance again, back in the backside. Like, that's tight. Like, to me, like, that's like, wow. Like, that's very, very, very different. And I couldn't depend on another tricker to do that. Like, only I have to like only he would have unlocked that,
Sure.
Now, is that like a 100% fact? No, it's not. Someone else could have done it.
So I got a question for you. What has more weight then? Doing something that may not necessarily be as, physically demanding, but doing it first, or doing things that are physically demanding and like being a king. Like, you can do triple cork all day, but the dragon whip's tail thing, behooves you because you just look like everyone else. Like, let's just focus on that idea for like 1 second, because I think it's interesting. So Andy Lee, we're just gonna focus on this combo. I'm just gonna keep replaying it. So he does the pop, the jump spin, which that's like something you learn as an underbelt in martial arts. And then instead of just a regular pop front, he does some crazy kung fu variation where he, like, just that little bit of different with the low kick and a hook. It's like, this is all not black belt stuff, This is below black belt, but he's able to execute it at such a high level. It makes you want to replay it over and over again, But you don't have to. He's not spinning 30 times in the air, but he's had his own style. So I guess I didn't really ask you a question. I just started talking, but
we'll keep playing it. Like there's so much that I take in when I look at the combination. Okay, there's so much, right? Like, if we're comparing this to a triple cork, right? And you're thinking about all the years of going through your regular cork, upgrading that to your double cork, upgrading that to your triple cork, all the falling, all of the refinement in your twisting technique, in your learning how to swing the leg to the maximum impetus so that you get like just the perfect amount of lift with the spin. If you're thinking about all that and all the time it takes, it's kind of like this triple cork is always going to be a big deal. It's always going to be a big deal. But when you look at Andy, even though what he's doing might not be a triple cork, everything is so purposeful. Like, from his hand position, Like everything is it's a big deal. Like everything is on purpose. The way he goes into a scoot and he pulls his right hand back. The way his hand is in this particular configuration, this particular position. You know, like him crossing over. He's making his movements purposeful and design. If he was doing something and he wanted to go into a defense, he can't simply because his elbows are in pretty much tight unless he's doing like something that's obviously like soft style. Like everything is so sharp, and for him to think of doing that, boom, like for him to think of doing that and having all those elements within the tricking style, it's like multiple layers that you have to be able to take in, you know. And for me, I'm filtered to see it, you know. But to me, it's equal. I mean, it might be kind of hard to say, like, man, there's no way this is equal to a triple cork. But when it just comes to what you got to think about and how much he has to work it, he's going to spend the same amount of time. Like the same amount of time that it takes for people to learn triple cork is the same amount of time it takes for you to develop your style into something like this.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's a really good point. Like, people somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about might look at Andy and Lee and go, well, if you trained a little bit harder, you could probably add an extra spin there. But from Andy Lee's perspective, he's like, no, you don't get it. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want my move to look exactly this way. I want to stand out. You know, to focus, to kind of recap what you're just saying here, if I want to, because I got control of the video, so I can pause it in certain parts here. But like, I want to find a good example here where he'll put his hands in interesting places that aren't necessary. Like he could have totally had his hands in a guard position, but he's like, no, I'm putting my arms out, so I have this giant, you know, aesthetic look. Right here, he didn't have to do that little the reach. It's the little moments that. Those are the little things that make you stand out because you thought about it on a different level than other people are.
Exactly. Like that is, and he's still maintaining it. Like that is invisible to the regular tricker. They see that and they just think, oh, when he kicks, his arms just naturally go there. It's like, no, he has to train himself to hit this position.
Right.
You know? And it's like one of those things where it's just like that, to me, that's cool. That's amazing. Like,
yeah. So here's another thing.
And when I see
Andy Lee, it used to actually bother me, but you know, I'm not gonna judge Andy Lee. I don't. Sometimes it bothered me how he did his spin hooks because he always had his head like away. I was like, how do you even see what you're kicking? But yeah, but it's his way of doing it, and you can see it right here. It doesn't matter if he did his hook kick on the ground or he does it upside down 6 feet in the air, it's going to be the same thing. So there's that hook kick I'm talking about where he's not really like looking at it, but he's got that unique flair. He's like, I decided my hook kick is going to look exactly like this all the time. I don't care how many flips. I don't care if it's on the ground. You know, he's developed the little nuances that make him him. He's not so. Andy Lee is so not into trends and so not into doing what everyone else is doing, and I think that's what makes him really special. I mean, his brother too, Brian Lee, takes a similar but different approach where he's more swole. Takes that more like
definitely he has more of a hard style.
Yeah.
Like approach to it.
But
very much.
So let's give out some advice to the kid that wants to be the next insert your favorite tricker or forms competitor here. What can they do to be remembered and to have their own style?
You have to dare to be different, man. So there's going to be days where you're going to be practicing, you're going to be doing things, and what you're doing is going to be whack. You're not gonna like it, or maybe you'll think that it looks awesome, and then you see it on video and you're like, dang, that's horrible, you know? Like, but as you keep doing things, if you keep trying to be creative, you're going to come across some things that you want to keep, some things that are like great, you know? And those are the things that you want to develop your style around. It takes a very long time. I know with our pop culture in America, I know we like to get things quickly. But if you truly care about what you can bring to tricking, you know, then that's just what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of time. We all started off very, very generic. And then on our quest of climbing up the ranks, we found out what works with our own body type, what works with the people that we trained around, because style is kind of region-based. But, you know, you want to find out what works for you that you can do that someone else isn't doing, right? Like for me, I was pretty high when it comes to athleticism, but I knew that I wasn't the most athletic, you know, perfect specimen, you know, out there. Like I know people are going to be able to do anything that I'm doing, like way better. They're going to surpass me in physicality a whole lot. So I try not to focus on that. I try to just focus on, you know, on my mind and what I could specifically bring to the game. And you just focus on that, and the people who recognize what you're doing, you know, they'll love you for that. You know, try not to do it for the crowd. Just do it for the art, man. Just do it for the art.
So I want to take a couple questions here. I'm gonna play some old school Sesh in the background while we do this, because it's one of my favorite videos from a different world, back when Facebook was still in black and white. You guys have been dropping a lot of comments. I've been doing a poor job checking in on you guys. I apologize about that. What was that comment I saw? Josh Durbin's in here. He has some advice. Josh Durbin's another, you know, great tricker, loves what he does. He says, be you, chase your tricks that you want and love. Self-expression is the best, and make it what you want. And make it what it is to you. Yeah, you know, be yourself. I think that's the beauty of the art. It's like, yeah, it's acrobatic, it's high flying, it's crazy, but if you truly embody the spirit of what this is all about, it's really, you're expressing who you are through movement. And I think that gets lost, especially in you know, today's era of like, who can spam dubs the most, the first, the fastest, who can get to that level the fastest. There's been this loss of going back to what the heart of it is just like, how can I show people what I value? And going back, playing Andy Lee for half this show was a prime example of that. You know, it's like he values the kung fu, the crazy ninja poses. Like, that's him. That's what he thinks is cool, and he made it cool. Anis was like, what's cool to me is having perfect execution of solid foundational kicks, round kicks, hook kicks. They'll be great no matter what I do. I'll never do a trick unless I can absolutely execute my round kicks and hook kicks at the level that I'll be able to execute them at, regardless of rotations and inverts. You know, and that's just his style. Sesh, I don't know. I mean, if you want to talk about your particular styles and beliefs, that's cool. I mean, from an outside perspective, I'd say, you know, your thing is just, I don't know, other than just the pure.
It's kind of difficult.
It is. It's like the pure art of being creative. You know, like, how can I be? But there's more to it, because you still care about the kicks. If it was just pure art, then you might as well be dancing. But you're not dancing, you know. It's a wild and crazy style. Can you like talk a little bit about like your philosophies and thoughts of like when you go through all this training, where your head's at?
There's a video I linked you on your phone. It's at the very, very end, and I think that will probably be something good to kind of talk about. But in general, My style is basically just one of constant of constant change. Um, I have this desire to not be want to be boxed in. You know, my style has changed so much over the years, and it'll continually change. The moment when people start uh, predicting what I'm going to do is the moment when I'm kind of like, okay, it's time for me to change up because I don't want to be defined easily. You know, I just want to be, for me, I just want to be this mystery. I just want to be this enigma, this voice that shines in the dark. You know, like in you can hear it, but it's difficult to see where it's coming from. But you can feel it, like you can feel it inside your, inside your heart. Like, wow, this guy is constantly evolving, and that's like how I feel. I feel like I should be famous, um, and that's
So
pretty much what my style is.
what is the video you wanted me to look up? Because the last one I see here is Alex D. It's not
Uh,
you.
I sent you one for called Speaking in Tongues. I think it's on a channel called Egan and Batsu.
I'll just search speaking in tongues. That'll be bad.
Bam.
Yeah. All right.
Search master. Search Mad Guy's PhD in the internet. But yeah,
Them internet skills.
like this video has where I kind of start blending like my power with like my style. Like that opening move is what I call a raised cross. It's a raise where instead of me doing the raise, I pull it just like a hook kick first, and then I turn it into a tornado kick.
Let's check it
And
out one more
that
time.
and that's something where it's not like trickers don't know what that is,
It's because you made it up, right?
because I made it up right then and there.
Oof.
You
See,
see what I'm saying?
yeah. I think that's another like kind of clutch signature thing that I really love about tricking is when I can't explain it. When I can't give a label to what you're doing, I think you're in the world of like real, like authentic tricking, the heart of it. You're doing stuff that just has no name.
Yeah, and that's like pretty much kind of how I tried it. And then here's like some of the generic stuff. 'Cause I was never ever really good at doing multiple swings. Never. It's just the timing wasn't. It just wasn't anything I ever worked on because I was always working on like style and threading and groundwork and popping back up and getting back into the usual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's fun. Finding unique ways to throw tricks or positions to throw tricks out of was like fun. Boom, rock, groundwork, thread that Webster. I was really working like my Webster's a whole lot uh, this year.
And you do a lot of that unique groundwork, like you call it threading. And is that from breakdancing, or is that just your own original thought? Like, where does that thought come from?
It's from b-boying.
Yeah.
It's the idea of making some type of hole like with your body or with the ground, and then moving a segment of your body like through that hole. But while I'm doing it, I'm trying to do it creatively so that I can get myself into a next position where I can continue the combo
Mm.
with a move that I normally wouldn't have been able to continue the combo with.
Mm.
So I kind of use it as a transitional thing, and it's completely from b-boying. I had a lot of b-boying friends, especially in Houston, and a lot of times I'll see some of the things that they'll do, and I'll just be like, wow, that's really creative, like the idea of trying to do a trick, but you're doing another trick like while you're doing it. It's the same thing as Andy Lee's like hand positioning. It's just different.
Yeah, it's just exactly. I don't know how to say it. It's different. It makes you stand out. It's unexpected. It's how you get remembered. I remember watching this video 11 years ago.
Mm.
Ancient history here. All right, I want to play. I want to play another video up on here. If you guys have any quests that you want to play, or you have any comments that you have, just drop them in. Jeff Doss is in the house. He says people don't do jumps off both feet anymore, and they can't do the 360 outside crescent. So he's like talking like martial arts kind of basics world. But that is interesting thing. I mean, they're back in the day, you know, the reason why a cheat 720 is called the cheat 720 is because it mimicked the pop 720, but it was way easier because people just did pop kicks back in the day. It was as simple as jump, spin as many times as I can, and then kick. I either spin 1 time, 2, 2.5 times, and then eventually 3. But now it's this 1 foot jump takeoff thing. Does that? I personally I'm all about it. I don't think it's a big problem that people aren't doing it anymore. But it is rare. You don't see some of the old tricks anymore, like a pop 720. How often do you see that? You know, and why do you think that is?
You don't. I used to get people in horse with that. Ironically, like as we would play horse when I was getting older, and despite all the crazy stuff people were able to do, it's the old school tricks that will allow me to be, oh, this is Nikita, he's dope. But yeah, like I would do something like pop 3 to pop 7, and it would just destroy them because they spin too many times. They don't know how to control it, you know.
It's interesting.
But yeah,
you'd think like the old school stuff, you know, it'd be basics these days, but it's not.
But they don't use them as prerequisites. You know, a lot of these new guys don't use it as prerequisites because the thing has gotten so crazy that the double cork is where they start now. It's basic.
Right. I saw a kid, before we keep watching this because it's distracting, I saw a kid, it was like a year or 2 ago, who went from not knowing what tricking is to getting double cork in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
The kid just went out on an open gym on a crash mat and just until he had it. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Good for you, but that's insane. I don't even recognize. I don't even know how to like. Yeah, I guess you're tricking, right? I don't know, but
that's the power of technology, man. That's the power of the internet, man. Like for us to learn tricking, like we had to find a group that pretty much like tricked or was interested in the martial arts and kind of, you know, climb up the ranks and ask questions and have this social interaction with them so that we could, you know, get some insight into the direction of where we were going, you know, like that's what we had. And then when the internet came, it just made to where it's kind of like now all these moves are on display. It's like a buffet. You just walk up and you just grab what you want. And there's no like, hey, you know, before you go here, you should try this. Like people are able to use the technology, like spring floors, like the spring floors that people are on now are not the spring floors we were on. You know, like a lot of us were on puzzle mats or on grass when we started. And some people, you know, are still using grass, but you know, what I'm saying is times have changed in this small amount of time to the point of where like the position we were in when we started tricking is nothing like the position like some of these young guys are in, you know?
So speaking of young guys, who are we watching right now? Why are we watching this guy?
This is Nikita Ivanov. Nikita, I like Nikita because he's one of those persons where he dares to be different, right? Like if you look at, you know, his YouTube page, like he likes Donnie Yen, he likes, you know, a lot of people who I think most people would say like they have more of an original style. But even though he likes them, what's important is he doesn't trick like them. You know what I mean? He doesn't trick like in his favorite trickers. Like he does his own thing. And it might look, you know, a little disheveled or it might look a little goofy because he's not like a formally trained like martial artist. But he pushes his vision nonetheless, and he's gotten way better than what he used to be. You know? And if he keeps doing it, he will like get to be very, very clean. But he likes to implement grabs at weird places. He likes to do little poses, but from those poses, he moves quite efficiently out of them.
Yeah.
And I like that, like a little front leg hook kick, like you know what I mean, like it's not super clean, but you know what he's going for. He did a little grab in that one. That's dope.
It does a lot of grabs, like behind the back. I saw a few times.
Exactly, like he plays with different like
There it
you
is.
know what does this look like if I put my arms like this? What does this look like if I do this? And a lot of the stuff that he does, like a little gorilla crawl, like while he's doing the shift to negativa, like he does a lot of just a lot of different things to kind of put things in a different like he could have jumped front, but he didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
and let's state the obvious here, the bandana. I mean, that's cool. Like he's like, it kind of reminds me of you, like defining a character through your movement. You're the king of demons. You're Sesshoumaru. Like he's kind of like the lone bandit. I don't know. I'm just labeling him right now, but that's what it reminds me of. He's like, I'm just this loner rebel without a cause, doing my thing, wearing my bandana. And if anything, I'm gonna remember him as the guy that grabs his hands behind his back and does stuff with a handkerchief over his face. You know, but that's cool. Like that makes you unique. It's you. And I agree with you. He's selling a message to people through his movement. He's not just trying to be like everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Like he pulled Donnie Sheehan did like a hyper jackknife. Like that was interesting. He let his leg go through and he grabbed it. Like he could have threaded that one back, going off the forehands. Like look at that. Like man, like this dude's like that's dope. That's dope. Like it has potential, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I like. That's what to me, like you get props for. Boom. Right? So throughout this video, he's done that. This swing grab into a thread. But in that recent clip, when he pulled into it, you thought he was gonna thread it, but he back kicked instead. Like stuff like little things like that keeps you guessing. Butterfly twist sidekick, and it wasn't even a bad sidekick. He even had his foot position right. Like it's stuff like that, man.
Yeah. So
that gives me hope, like for Tricky.
At the top of the show, we watched Anis, who is Mr. Clean, Mr. Full Extension, perfect round kick, perfect hook kick. He doesn't do a move unless he's mastered it. And you gave him a lot of praise. Now we're at the other end of the show here, and we're watching a guy that isn't perfect. I mean, I think we can both agree that like some of his kicks, they're nowhere near Anis level, not even close.
Nowhere near.
But you still give him praise, right?
It's still dope.
Yeah.
It's original. It's his own thing. Look at that Hawkeye. Yeah, it's like it's original. He grabs in the back on his raise. He grabs his trail leg, and then he swings that same trail leg into gain a rocker boy. So it's like a grab in the back with one leg to a grab in the front with two legs, and like sick. He swings into 9 doubles. Does all the trendy stuff with like box cutters and stuff like that, and jackknives, and he has like the moves that everyone pretty much builds with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the moves serve his style. You see what I'm saying? Like his style isn't for doing the box cutter, isn't for doing jackknives, isn't for doing double full. Those things instead serve the, it's different,
That's an interesting way to put it.
That's the important thing. Yeah, that's the important thing. It's not the moves, It's the other stuff that's Nikita, that's on the forefront.
I think that's a unique, important point that I think we should just illustrate and just recap one more time. You said that he's not doing movements for the sake of movements. He's not moving to try to land a box cutter, but instead he's utilizing movements to do his thing. right? He's using a box cutter because it fits into his style versus him trying to just adapt the style so that he can land a box cutter, which is where I think the mentality is with most people these days that train. They're like, I got to do touchdown raise, but I got to do touchdown raise because it's the most powerful setup so that I can swing through to land my double cork. But instead, another approach might be, if you want to be stylish and have your own way of doing things, is think about like, well, what are the movements that I want to express? Like, who am I? What do I value? And then how do I use the tool set I have to share that? I only have a certain number of paintbrushes to create my painting. What am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Exactly. I kind of got confused in there. I had a train of thought, and then I felt like the analogy got too weird.
No, exactly. Like if you want to like do like a paintbrush analogy, it's like I could have the best materials, the best canvas, the best easel, the best paintbrushes, the high quality paints, and I can try to paint something. But someone who's a pro, who knows what they're doing, can have tools that are way worse, and they're still going to paint something that's better than mine.
You know what? As a photographer, videographer, same story, right? I would much rather, if I had a multi-millionaire right here who had access to every piece of camera equipment he could ever want, and then I had someone else who just had their smartphone and they're a professional cinematographer, I'm going to put my money on the cinematographer that they're going to create the better product, because it's not your abilities, it's not the raw gear you have, the physical body, the gear, the product gear, whatever it is. It's your expertise and your intent on how you use it. All right, I want to play another video here that you requested. This is Alex D. Alex D's from, is he Ukraine, Russia?
I think it's Russia.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's Ukraine or Ukraine, I think is how they would say it. But most of it is in slow-mo. And this is just one of the things where it's kind of like Alex, when he started off, I considered him like, oh, okay, this guy's kind of an Anise clone. Very similar body shape. Extension is not the same as Anise, but it's very close. And like his focus, like his twisting skills, is kind of similar. But I like this video because of the title, right? He's taking time to clean things up. He's taking time to chamber. He's taking his time to point his toes. He's taking his time to spot before he launches the hook kick. Like things like that. He's not throwing kicks in a general direction because he knows that it's going to be there. Like he's making sure that his body is in a good position where he could throw a kick that's accurate. You know what I mean? And I like that.
Yeah. Again, that goes back to this concept of intentionality, being purposeful and knowing why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Having
he could have been, because with Alex's skills, man, he could be spamming dubs. He could be, doing calorie rolls. He could be doing a lot of things. But for him, for his direction, where he's going, these lines are more important.
Yeah.
They're more important.
He's placed a value on what's important to him, and then you see it. It's very thought out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of some Tin Man.
Tempest, yes.
Cool. Well, I give myself 1 hour to do this show every day, and our hour is now up. Goes by really fast. So we're gonna wrap things up today. I just want to say thank you, Sean, for being on the show today. Like I said, you were someone that inspired me for a long time. and it's been a pleasure to know you for the past few years, and it's good to see you again. It's awesome to get a chance to just chat and talk about this stuff because it's awesome, and I know there's a lot of people that tune in are going to be watching the replay that are super appreciative that you took the time to do this as well. So I just want to say thank you. And I also want to say thank you to everybody that watched the show today. We had a good turnout. You guys were commenting the whole episode. You had a lot to say. I'm going to go back once this live feed is over with and read your comments a little bit more. But
yeah, it'd be cool if we could link up again and do kind of like a Q&A.
Yeah.
With your listeners. Just
you guys
for
want
like
a Q&A?
comments that were good. Yeah, and we could just revisit it later on.
For sure. If you guys want, drop the floating thumbs up. I want to know. Yeah. You want a Q&A? Ask this guy anything. He's got, as you can tell after this hour, ask him anything related to tricking.
Yeah. Share the vid, guys. Pass it around.
Yeah.
Get some questions, and if the turnout's looking good, then I'll be invited back on, and we can answer some questions.
You'll be invited back on. Don't even if these people didn't even give me floating thumbs up, I'd just kick them off my stream, get a new audience. But Wolfpack, thank you guys for tuning in. That's it for today's episode. Tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow we're talking about point fighting. I got Alex Reyes joining me from Point Fighting Radio. So we're gonna talk about a whole different world, the opposite of tricking in the martial arts. We're going from the art to the punching each other in the face side. So with that, we're gonna end it. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.
Cheers.